It's been 9 months since we last visited the restoration works at Amberley Air Base in Queensland, so we thought it time to catch up with the volunteers there to see what progress had been made. This time, we were fortunate to chat with some of the volunteers involved in the creation of cockpit instruments and other parts, using 3D printing techniques. Here's Glenn talking to us about this aspect of historical aircraft restoration.
I'm a volunteer here at Restoration Support Section. My background is in photography. I was a photographer in the Air Force and then after the Air Force as well. And as part of that, I got interested in 3D printing. The restoration side of it had been running for a while, but when they opened the museum, they called for volunteers and advertised in the local paper, the QT. And I thought, oh, okay, yeah, I'll give that a crack. And initially I was up at the museum end because of my photography background, but then I became interested in 3D printing, and I could see where it could fit in with restoration. A lot of the old aircraft and that we can't get parts for, or we can get a part but we can't keep it. And so I was able to either reproduce the object from drawings, or once we got a 3D scanner, we could 3D scan an object. Okay, so we've got an object that we need to scan. Using the handheld scanner, we can slowly scan every angle of it. And then we'll orient that a different way so that we can grab the inside. So from the 3D scan, we can then take that into a slicer software and we can 3D print the scan. And with this one, it came out really well. The detail was fantastic. Some objects are easier than others, but it saved, 3D printing it saved a hell of a lot of time and energy compared to producing it out of metal. At the moment, I'm working on a navigation light housing for the Vampire. Navigation light housings on the wingtips. I was able to scan it in and produce what they call a mesh, and then I can either 3D print it or I can make a mould and cold mould and cast it. We've got two kinds of 3D printers, the filament and the resin. The filaments are good for producing a quick prototype. Large objects, it produces a part that can be finished, sanded, painted, and then it'll look as good as the original. And the resin can be used for, it has a smaller capacity, but it produces a really nice smooth result. And for things like radio knobs or switches. We're doing the bezels for the cockpit instruments. So Lloyd is able to draw up the bezels, then I'm able to convert them into a model to 3D print, and Bob can do the actual instrument faces with the laser engraver. So between the three of us, it produces a result that is, to all intents and purposes, as good as the original.
So what I start out with, like with the Vampire, I started out, I was given this, okay? And this is just transferred to Corel Draw, which allows me to draw instruments. And these are just photos which I transferred in and put on either side, because I'm trying to populate these instruments here as well. I can't put this in until I do this, because you can't get your hand in. They're all rear-mounted instruments in the old days. These days they're all front-mounted. So it makes it so much easier for the technicians. So this is, what I need is I either need a photo of the instrument, I need the size of the hole, or I need something like this. So that is what I was given, and that's what I've come up with at the moment. The altimeter was too far gone, so I made a face for it in the needles. The artificial horizon basically is as I got it. There was no climb and descent, and some vampires come with 4,000 foot a minute, some come with 6, so I elected 6 because this is a fighter. The altimeter was too far gone, so I made a new face for it in the needles. This is a G3 compass. Now I think a lot of people tried to steal the faces off the instruments, and G3 compass is very similar to a G4, which I had on cameras. I made a new needle for this, and I'm just waiting for one of our technicians to make a little ball on the slip.
Remarkably, many of these volunteers have picked up new skills quickly, like using drawing and 3D programs, and have discovered a newfound passion and drive for this work, as well as a community of like-minded volunteers, a characteristic of this workshop as important as the restoration work itself.
The range of skills is fantastic. A lot of the guys in the hangar, when they hear that a computer's involved, don't really want to get into the 3D printing, but all of our abilities here sort of complement what we're trying to do. 3D printing just happens to be the most recent one, but it's just another tool, you know, and there's plenty of skill amongst the guys here, and the atmosphere is great. Everyone works in together, you know. We have a few grumbles because things don't come along at the pace we want, but by the same token, you look at the end of the year, you see what has been achieved, and you can see that progress is good, yeah.
Last time we were at Amberley, there was a Bofors 40mm anti-aircraft gun being restored. This is now finished and ready to be put on display. Another project in the same area as the gun is the restoration of a rear turret from a Lincoln bomber.
Yeah, what we have here is a bolt and ball turret. It's the rear turret out of a Lincoln bomber, a 4-engine bomber that Australia produced 72 of in the 1940s, late 1940s, as our strategic bomber. It'll be a 3-year project. I've already been working on it for about 6 months, and the idea is that as I dismantle, I restore the part, mark it, and then we put it away, so that when we get to the bottom, it's a matter of everything has been restored, it's all complete, and it's a matter of putting it back together. To assist along the way, we take photos of every part as it comes apart, which is basically a library of putting it back together, because we don't have any manuals, we don't have anything like that. Some parts that are missing I've been able to source from England, buying parts from England. There are a few things missing, but I think at the end of the day, once it has been totally restored, it'll probably be about the most complete example of a Lincoln rear turret in Australia. And I think there's only one other in Western Australia at this stage. It's just a twin 50 calibre turret, just a normal reflector sight that's in it. So there's nothing really special. The late model Lancaster did have these turrets in it, but the Lincoln, which was a replacement or development of the Lancaster, had these turrets, the bolt and ball turret.
After being briefed on the Lincoln turret project, we went back to the main hangar to find out about the progress of the Vampire restoration, which we covered in our last visit 9 months ago.
At this stage, as you can see, the wings, tail booms are all in place and everything like that. The guys working down here are fixing the mechanism that holds the drop tanks onto the wing. They're a bit loose now and the drop tanks are just dropping. So they're fixing those problems. The aircraft itself, the painter has been going around bogging it, you see around the red there, and sanding it back ready for painting which will be done in September, the first week in September. So, job's going on. We'll have it all finished by Christmas time this year. So.
Right, the tanks have been all repaired, and we've just serviced. Would you like to pass the parrot beak? The parrot beak. This item fits up inside the wing, right, and there's a bolt that catches on this parrot beak and locks. And this rod passes through the tank up into the wing and engages in this parrot beak. Right, so that sits up inside the wing. This is inside the tank, goes up and clabs like that. And then the tension's done on the bottom with a nut and a washer on the bottom of the tank. And that allows the pilot, when he wants to get rid of this, pulls a cable, pulls on this little point here, and it disengages that and the tank falls away. Okay, and that's how it operates. So what we are doing at the moment is servicing these, because they're all frozen and seized up through time. So that's what we're currently doing now. Now we've just fitted this one. This one's fine. We've now got to put this back inside the wing, and we'll do the same process. And then once everything's functional, we'll take it off and we'll put the covers on, which are under the wing, and then allows the painters will paint all this separate, and then we know that it'll work when we put it back on.
The aircraft is ready to have an engine fitted. We have one, but we do not have the mounting frame that it goes onto. So we're hoping just to put it on display on a stand outside of the aircraft when the aircraft goes on display. So people will be able to see what type of engine. It's a Nene engine for this aircraft. The twin seat engine was a Goblin engine, something, you know, another same design, different year of manufacture. So we're working quite well. We did expect it to go a little bit past Christmas time and everything like that, but there's a meteor coming in and they want it in the space this is taking. So as you can see, everything is in place. Looks like it's got half an engine in there with the tailpipe in it, but it's just jury-rigged in there to make it look effective. Inside the cockpit, the ejection seat rail has been refitted. All we're waiting for now is the gunny over the road there to finish refurbishing the ejection seat, and it will go in. And we have a gentleman making up instruments for the panels in the aircraft itself that we haven't got, or that have been removed because of radiation problems. Okay, we've been talking about the engine. We'll go out the back here and we'll show you the engine that's going.
The restoration unit here at Amberley populates a number of hangars and office facilities, and is wonderful to see so many resources dedicated to our military aviation history. The work on restoring old engines, which we are about to see, was particularly impressive. It was also quite a buzz to have to regularly stop filming for the Super Hornets, a few F-35s and a C-17A Globemaster III leaving the base. It certainly created an exciting atmosphere.
David here was the chief restorer on this engine. He will say how he had the lead on it, pulled it all apart and everything like that. So we kept him so it could go back together properly.
Okay, this is a Rolls-Royce Nene, British produced and designed, but actually manufactured in Australia under licence. Supposedly it's supposed to go into the Vampire, but it will be displayed as it is, as a separate item. When it was received, it was in a similar condition to a heap of scrap. Everything was dismantled, all these were taken apart, jet pipe was dismantled, the igniter cans, the gearbox, the entire auxiliary assemble, completely dismantled, refurbished, and reassembled as you see. And that is it. And that took us approximately 1,800 man-hours to achieve that effect.
The remarkable detail of this engine restoration will be visible for all to see when it is displayed next to the Vampire we've just seen. After a lengthy discussion about jet engines being produced in Australia under licence, we then proceeded back out to the main hangar to see how far along the Anson restoration had come.
Hi, welcome back to Amberley Aviation restoration section for another look at our Avro Anson. Since the last time you visited us, we've put the leading edge on the starboard wing. We've profiled and contoured that wing, ready for the final skinning. After we skin it, we'll then lay the fabric cloth on it. You'll notice on this one, we have used metal for the leading edge. That was just easier for us than having to bend and manipulate the ply. On this Anson, what we have done, we've made it that we can remove the main planes and the wingtip in case that we have to transport the aircraft by road. The wing will come off at rib 7, which is about 3 feet out from the engine. And you can see there, if you have a look, where the wingtip will come off. On the other side of the aircraft, we've now fitted the wing. We're in the process of profiling that, getting it ready to be scun, and the leading edge, metal leading edge, to be put on that. There's been other minor repairs or jobs done that you can't see, but maybe we can show you those on a walk around. Okay, from rib 7 here, we've made it that we can take the wing off, and then it can either be transported as a complete wing assembly, or we can take the wing tip off, which gives us about 3 feet less that we've got to move. That's that side. Leading edge, as I said, is metal, and you'll have a look here. You'll see where we've marked out, we've got to cut that out and fit the landing light. You see the guys here have actually started to insert the stringers we put this one in first. That more or less allows us to get all our ribs and everything in the right spot. And then it also allows our metal guys to come and start and form the leading edge. I think last time we were only making the wingtip, and where the clamps are underneath, that is actually where we can remove the wingtip. Okay, that'll be just held on with a couple of slides, tubes fitted into the wing with pins on it, and it'll slide in. What the guys are actually doing here now is cutting out all the keyways so that we can insert the stringers. Yeah, what the guys are doing here is with the little guides, that's so they can router out the spaces of the stringers. And then after they're in, you can see by the cord line, that's to help us get it all true. Then we put all that in, then we have to go over and contour that both longitudinally and fore and aft, and then we can lay the skin on that. We've also finished all the work on the empennage, the tailplane there. We're just doing the final little bit of tidy up on that last panel that's missing underneath. And on the other side, which we might have to get down under the aircraft, we've actually fitted bomb doors, and we've got a bomb rack in there. So when the aircraft goes on display, we're going to have one side where the bomb doors will be open, and you'll be able to see the bomb rack, and on the other side, they'll be closed, so it'll be a clean skin. The bracket you see here out of the window, that is if the aircraft was being used for a nav trainer. They could actually come out and fit a compass over that, and one on the other side, so they could train 2 operators on how to work their compass or train their compass and everything. We would like to think 12 to 18 months, this will be out and on display down in the museum part of the History and Heritage here at Amberley.
As you can imagine, these restoration projects require a lot of machining of parts, and this hangar has its own machining section for all of those jobs.
Right, basically what we do, we're running a mini machine shop where we do the welding and all the machining and lathe work for the aircraft. Obviously, a lot of the stuff that comes in here, we can't get parts for. So a lot of times we then given that task to make those parts for the aircraft. Everything from a mill, lathe, we've got drills, we've got grinders, welders, etc., doing the MIG and the TIG welding. Because we are a sort of catch-up, if you like, because you can't get bits. They want a specialist tool made, for pulling a widget off an aircraft somewhere, we get to make that tool for that widget, whatever it may be.
This was the end of our visit to the restoration workshop at Amberley Air Force Base. A big thank you to everyone at the Restoration Centre, and especially Flight Lieutenant Karen Markwell, who was so instrumental in organising our visit. We hope to bring you another update around the same time next year to see how these projects and any new ones are progressing.